30 years have since passed, and while a whole lot has changed, the song remains the same. The Wolf still rocks.
Hey there, it's Brian Ellis, morning show host, 101.5 The Wolf. We continue our video series celebrating the Wolf's 30th birthday. We launched the radio station February 14th, 1992. This lady was along for the ride during that 30-year period. And we say hello to Sue Tyler in Belize.
Yes.
Hello, Sue Tyler in Belize. How's the weather in Belize?
27 degrees and sunny, like it is every single day, Brian. Does everybody hate me now?
Yeah, it's not that here right now when I'm recording this with you. Listen, thanks so much for taking the time to join us for this video.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. Because, and I said it, when we first started talking about this, working at the Wolf, was one of the highlights of my career, and so I'm so happy to be included in this. Thanks, Brian.
So when did you join us at the Wolf? And you started out doing afternoon drive.
Yeah. Well, take it back a little bit. I mean, I am familiar to the Peterborough market. I first came to Peterborough in '96, working at Country 105. I came there from Ottawa. Really built, an audience. And I was there for 10 years working at Country 105.
Yeah.
I did middays for years and got to know the Peterborough community. Met my husband, who's from Dummer Township. And I never let that one go. Every jab I can make to bring up Dummer Township, I do. So he's a good old Dummer boy. So, I mean, it was a big part of my life, and I got off and was working in Toronto, and an opportunity came up with afternoon drive. And even though, in our career, everyone thinks that Toronto is the place to be, one of the things I felt in Toronto is that I had to compromise a little bit and follow the rules, whereas I found the ideology at the Wolf and watched this station grow over the years. I always wanted to get back. I mean, the foundation of who I am as a broadcaster was always in rock, and I always wanted to get back there. It's harder as a woman to work in rock radio. It just typically is. It's a tougher format to try and present in. I like to say you got to have pretty big balls, because you take a lot of hits as a broadcaster. You put yourself out there, and you got to be able to take it. And that demographic can sometimes present its challenges. But it was my biggest joy was to come back. And I remember when I met with Rob Sege, the program director, and he got a sense of why I wanted to come back to Peterborough. My husband was a little pissed at me because I had to take a salary cut to come back and work in the Wolf, but I didn't care. We had a farm in Warkworth, and I had always wanted to work at the Wolf. I was always jealous of you guys and Kerry Walker and all your fun things you were doing, and I was like, I want to hang out with the cool kids, man.
Yeah.
So I was pretty thrilled when I got the opportunity to do that, and. The biggest thrill for me was to really get to know the audience. And I still have friendships, that grew when I worked there. And it's, it was a fun ride when I came, for sure.
Yeah. And you talk about, friendships. I mean, you joined the Wolf Afternoon Drive, and, we all became friends. And I know that that you really enjoyed sort of getting to know all of the Wolf Pack members.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first met Kernsey, and I had known you before, and I had known Scott Haynes before, because I had worked in the market, and we had been at so many events together over the years. But sorry, I've got beach hair. Does that
Hey, you're in Belize. That's what you're supposed to do.
People in Ottawa have had. I have like wind and saltwater hair. So please excuse me. I still look great in a bikini, though, by the way, just in case you wanted to know.
I was wondering. So, okay, thank you.
So yeah, when I saw Kernsey, I met Kearns for the first time, and I had never met anybody like him before. He's just, I noticed the first time I met him a level of vulnerability, and I wanted to get to know him. And I remember being at at a Wolf birthday party, and Matt Walst was there. It was before he became lead singer of 3 Days Grace. So what was the other band that he
My
was
Darkest
in?
Days.
My Darkest Days, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I had known those boys for years because their dad worked upstairs from me in Peterborough Square. He's an accountant. So I always knew their dad would always stop me in the halls and tell me what their boys were up to. And I worked at a radio station, but it was the country station.
Country station, yeah.
So he would always tell me. So Matt said to me, he said, Sue, get to know Steve Kearns. He's one of the kindest, genuine guys you're ever going to meet. And at first I was like, I think Kearns had a black eye from a sucker punch he took in a bar somewhere or something like that. Yeah. And I thought, really? And I got to know him, and he was all that. You know, he's got such raw talent, and I watched him grow and evolve as a broadcaster while I was there, but never apologized for who he was, and his love of his son and his dedication to his son's autism challenges, and shit, even his dog Suey. You know, he's just an adorable guy who's figuring things out, but he's doing it honestly, and that's, you know, what I fell in love with him. But a lot of people don't know that Scott Haynes and I shared an office. You remember it? It was like this one little office, and we were like back to back every day. And I got to know Scott and really admire his bravery. I mean, when I think Scott Haynes, I think like one of the bravest men I have ever met. He shares himself with people the way, I mean, I never could, and he does it so lovingly and compassionately, not looking for people's sympathy or understanding, but simply letting people know and communicating and sharing, which is the essence of what broadcasting is all about in the first, you know. And I don't think Scott himself ever realizes to the extent that is powerful and brave and so important. And so, you know, like, and it was somebody was talking about Brian Ellis, and I was like, oh my God. And you, I mean, you're the quintessential morning man. I mean, I honestly, in all the years I've known you, do not think you have a mean bone in your body. I've never heard you gossip or say an ill word about anybody. You are everything we want in somebody that wakes us up and starts our day, somebody we trust, somebody who cares. And I love that about you. I mean, sure, you might not be the wildest dude on the block, and I've never seen you get drunk or pass out at a party. I think the last Christmas party I was there, I was the only one that had to pay a bill for barfing the cab. And I still say that was because it was winter. Nathan made me eat a hamburger on the way home, and that taxi ride was all the way to Warkworth from you know, I can't remember what bar it was downtown.
Yeah.
So, to be fair, you know.
That's funny. That is funny. You know, one thing that always sticks out for me with your time in Peterborough doing afternoon drive is the way you were able to connect with the listeners, and you know, you're one of the best that I've heard bringing the listener into the show.
Yay. Right on.
You know, and maybe you could talk about that a little bit, because that is a skill, and I think you definitely have it.
It's for me, it's the most important thing. And I've always done that. I don't know why it was. I think to a certain degree, it's what connected me so well with radio. Music, and I say this all the time, and we don't value radio as much as we should. You know, this coming from, you know, a broadcaster, but something happens when we listen to music, whether it be country, whether it be rock. It expresses emotions that we struggle to articulate. And when you are playing music and you're exposing those emotions to people react. I react. I know I do, but I also open up my phone lines to welcome those conversations because I think that's what makes broadcasting great, and it's how we develop relationships. I am not good on the air without that communication, because for me, it's what it's all about. years ago when I worked at other stations, I was trying to do that. But back in the olden days, if you recall, it was reel to reel, and I had to cut tape and do it all that
Yep.
way. So but the foundation of the other person's voice and timbre along with the music has always been a goal for me as a broadcaster and something that I value. That, and I love people, I truly do. And I don't judge. I always felt that broadcasters should be accessible, to the communities that they're serving. And I was just learning really how to do that when I came to the Wolf. I started doing that in Toronto. They let me do that in the sense that they let me put callers on the air, but that hasn't always been the way. And
No.
nor has technology made it so that it was very easy. But I recall, and I won't name names, when I was first working at the Wolf, and a guy called in, and he was having a rough time. He left his wife, blah blah blah, and life was a challenge for him. And he would call every once in a while and tell me how his day was and how his garden was growing. And then he apologized one time and he said, "I'm really sorry. I'm just lonely." Coming home at the end of a shift, listening to the radio and a familiar voice was something that he looked forward to every day.
Wow.
And I said, "Don't apologize. That makes me very proud. And not
Yeah.
only that, I'm here for you. I'm here for you between 2 and 6. You call me." And he said, "Are you married?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm married, but that's okay. You know what? You between 2 and 6, I am all yours. I am
Yeah.
just Tyler between 2 and 6. And you know what? The funniest, I'm not allowed to swear, stuff would come out when people would just call and tell a joke. I mean, if you recall, I played that Smarty Pants. And I think Russ from Chumley's was probably, the worst at calling up and giving me things and saying things. And we had a whole lot of fun, but it allowed everyone in their day to feel important and to be a star and be involved in the emotion of the music and the community that they live in. I still think, in my mind, it's the healthiest way to be, right?
Absolutely. So you're in Belize now, and that's where you call home. And if
Crazy,
you
right?
ever start a radio station in Belize,
Oh,
look me up.
Oh,
Okay.
you know what? I do plan on doing that.
Nice.
My son goes to high school here. He's asked me not to start up a radio station until he leaves because if your mom owns a radio station. But we're going to start off with a radio club, and I'm going to start it with
Nice.
be a not-for-profit one. But yeah, once radio's in your blood, it always is.
Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe down the road, guys like you, I'll trade off. You can have a week at my condo if you want to teach a couple of classes for the kids at school and teach them some radio skills. So, I got plans. I got things I'm working on.
Count me in.
But I'm not 30 anymore like the Wolf. So
No. Listen, Sue Tyler, a pleasure to chat again. It's been too long, and enjoy your time in Belize. It looks fantastic.
love you,
All
bro.
right. See ya.